Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 6 of the Best Friends podcast. Today, I'm here with Nolan Chambers. Nolan, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Say a little bit about yourself. Nothing too crazy.
I'm Nolan Chambers. Known Nathan for a little bit since freshman year of high school. Uh, went to the same school together, grew up. We've gone our separate ways from now, but we've kind of rekindled our little relationship we had, and here we are.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I wouldn't say we're like super close, but definitely I've noticed kind of you on social media, especially like uh after leaving high school. I feel like you kind of keep tabs on people. I mean, sometimes people unfollow people for different reasons, but I don't know. I've just noticed something, noticed different things that we're going to talk about in this. And yeah, I mean, I've known you for a little bit since high school. I think we took like a freshman art class together.
Yeah.
Do we
Yep.
have any other classes or no?
I don't know.
Oh.
That one for sure.
Do we ever have any like in like eighth grade or something like that?
Um, eighth grade. I don't think so. I don't think we were on the same team.
I don't know. But anyways, yeah. Known you since high school. So yeah. But anyways, I have a couple questions. I want
Okay.
to go ahead and kind of like dive straight into it. And touching on high school, you know, what do you think for you like was the biggest realization that you've had since high school ended for you personally?
So, uh, I don't know that it's different than most people, but I didn't go the traditional route, which is go to college straight after high school. I decided that I'm gonna work. And uh, so I picked up a trade skill, got involved with that, and I'm doing auto collision, which it's interesting in its own part, but it throws you directly into the real world immediately. And you're dealt with all the struggles of, you know, navigating uh, navigating B, trying to figure everything out. You don't really have time to relax. Like when you're in high school or, you could go from class and like, okay, this is over. I'm done with it until tomorrow. And then, but in the real world, you kind of have to, you have a problem and it's that problem today, tomorrow, the next day, and into the future. But on the flip side of that, you also get to see everybody that's already grown up. And, you're working with people that are 25, 30, 40, 50. Some people are even in their 60s. And it's like, holy cow, you see this age range, this demographic that's vastly different. And you're dealing with all these different people and this generational divide between you.
Mhm.
And so it's really interesting to see kind of adapting to different situations. And you have to talk to this person in a certain way and you have to talk to this person in a certain way. And when we're in school, you're kind of all in the same social bubble.
Mhm.
Everybody's together. You're all in the same classes for the most part, and everybody knows who each other's friends are. You don't have to interact with everybody if you don't want to.
Yeah.
But when you're in, you know, a certain job industry, you are very forced and kind of groomed and conditioned that this is how things have to be. This is how you have to do it. If you don't want to do it, leave essentially. And so sometimes you have to learn to take control of yourself because otherwise you will get taken control of. And I don't know, it's a little hard to make that change and
No,
make it.
I definitely get what you're saying. Like when you leave high school and you enter college, it's almost like another kind of buffer you have until like you enter adult life. And I feel like for a lot of people, depending on what type of direction they want to take with their life, like almost not going to college and having more real world experience is more applicable for them in their life that they want to live. So I feel like definitely there's a lot of advantages to not going to college. And there's also a bunch of different advantages to going to college. And I feel like ultimately, like you learn just so much through any type of experience. And that's
Sure,
interesting. That's interesting that you said like how in college you're kind of like around the same people with that are the same age as you, like same kind of know about goals, but almost like same type of mindset as you. And when you're able to kind of like break out of that and talk to, I don't know, older people from even different generations, more experience, and have like constant conversations, constant learning of, from those type of people every single day, like there's a lot of value you can take from that.
for
And
sure.
I've definitely, yeah, like when I'm home in summer and I'm going to be working like internships and stuff like that, I'm definitely like going to keep that in mind and try and make it a goal to keep talking to more people. Because even like being in college, I feel like I love being in college because no matter where you go, you can, there's someone there. Like you can go somewhere and just have a random conversation with someone you've never met before.
Hmm. Yeah,
Like that's what I love about it. Like I love being able to conversate with people, learn from them, and just being around people. That's like one of the biggest things that helped me, like that I feel like improved being here was I feel like I became a better like socially. But I feel like it all just stemmed from a place of like wanting to learn and reach out and like understand people and their experience. And I
yeah. I think going to the college thing, like you have similar experiences. And when you go to college, you have this social reset. Or like for you, for example, you went to a school that not many people from our high school, if any, followed you.
yeah, I think I'm the
And right, exactly. So you're forced to make new friendships, new relationships
yeah,
in that sense. And the same thing for me. It's like I have a social reset. I don't have anybody that I know, and everybody that I do know most of the time is 5, 10 years older than me.
yeah.
And so that's fine because that's just that's normal to me now. But at the beginning, it's like, holy crap, I really got to figure this out because everybody that I did know is gone.
Yeah.
So, making those relationships was a little bit difficult. And not everybody is always around you all the time. Like that's where our situation is a little bit different.
Mhm.
So, uh, you're not always having people come up to you or you're going up to people, but like you really, really have to make an effort to keep in contact and keep those relationships alive.
Yeah. You gotta I feel like in the real world you really it's all on you. You really gotta go out and get it all by yourself.
Yeah.
And I mean, in college there's a lot of that. There's a lot of doing that and having to, live on your own, be your own person. But I mean, in the real world, it's like if you, I know you said like with your job, they want it done a certain way. And if you can't do that, you could get fired.
Right. Yep.
College, like in college, people could, you know, kind of get away with certain things. Like, I don't know, in high school, they say college is going to be hard, but at least I don't want to throw my school under the bus. It's not that bad here. So, but yeah, kind of transitioning, like Nolan, you have a blog post or
Hmm.
yes, what just like a little what's the name of your blog? It's just nolanchambers.com.
Yep. Just nolanchambers.com.
I guess have you always been into writing or not really?
No. Um, I did not. I was never good at reading or writing for that matter. Growing up, I always hated it. And I think a lot of that had to do with the teachers that I had growing up. But I had two really good teachers my sophomore and my senior year of high school. And my senior year teacher was like, maybe you should just write, just go write. So I picked up journaling and I didn't do it every day and I wasn't consistent about it. Uh, but like I got a book, right? And it's pretty full. But I was like, well, I write about a lot of topics that I think some people would find interesting, and I like to get really deep into my writing. And that's what I really liked about my senior year teacher is she would allow us to get extremely deep thought into our writing. And I liked that part of it. So going back to the blog, I would, you know, if I ever have an idea come to me, I'll write it down on a post-it note or something. Like that's kind of what these are up here. They're just little blip ideas. And then I'll take those and I'll expand upon it. But I'll generalize it in a sense that, a mass amount of people that can understand
Yeah.
and read or understand what I'm writing. So that's kind of like what I did. So I was like, I'm just gonna make a website. I'm gonna throw it up. If you want to read it, you can read it. If not, no worries. But this is what I think about this certain topic. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. And I've gotten great criticism on it. I've gotten bad criticism on it. But, I think it's awesome that people are just reading it in general because I didn't even think that was gonna happen. I just put it up there just to put it up there.
So when you started journaling, have you seen like your writing and your journaling kind of like evolve over time?
Yeah. So at first it was like, what am I thinking about? Just in the current moment because I didn't know how to journal. I didn't know there was not that there's a specific way to journal, but I didn't know what the heck to do.
Different types of journaling too.
Exactly. So I think like my very first page or something, it's just a quote, and or
This
it's
was
not even a quote.
this was
It was
senior
what I did today.
this was senior year
This was August 6th of 2022.
uh,
So my
before.
senior year. But yeah, so I have this journal. This is all full. Got another one, but it's like, progressing through that journaling journey, I guess, is you kind of figure out yourself. It's almost like sitting with yourself at night when all the lights are off. You're like, okay, my mind's clear. Like that's kind of what journaling is like for me, except I'm just writing it down and then I can go back to it.
Yeah. I know like journaling for me, um, I'm like I'm a Christian and
Hmm.
I've been progressing in my faith and I'll write like I'll like study a scripture,
Hmm.
kind of pick a verse that I like. Like obviously I don't think you're gonna be able to read the whole thing. This is what I did today.
Okay.
Like for example, the verse was a king favors a prudent servant, but his anger falls on a disgraceful one. And I would just kind of like write what that means, how I would apply it to my life, and then a prayer for me. So there's like different types of journaling that I try. I have I bought a journal from Target,
Hmm.
and for this just like kind of has my goals in here. Helps me stay focused on like the things that I want to do. But I've also been like looking into like obviously your blog or whatever, and other people's kind of I find it to be like, just an articulation of thought or just an expression of thought and
Yep.
almost like philosophy or something like that. But I've been wanting to start writing my own kind of thoughts and journals and like that because I feel like I don't I don't like express them enough and they kind of get bounced around in my brain sometimes. And that's like a good kind of like creative outlet to have and I feel like is super important.
Yeah. I
But
think the one thing that the blogs really helped me do is it's allowed me to not only build a community, but the community shares their feedback back. So you're expressing your thoughts, but then they're getting almost like a debate. You're like, oh, I thought this, but maybe I don't think that, or maybe this isn't true.
yeah.
And then you can have that back and forth. Whereas if you were doing it in a journal, you're like, unless you're debating yourself, it's like, okay, this is right, or this is wrong. It's like one or the other. Whereas if you can have that back and forth with somebody
Mhm.
if you're putting it, out into the world.
That's good. Um, was there anything like in particular that inspired you to like actually start the journaling? Like I know you said you kind of wanted, or not the journaling, the blogging. Like I know you said you kind of wanted to like throw it out there and didn't really expect anyone to read, but was there like anything that kind of sparked that flame to start posting about it?
Um, so I have a couple newsletters that I'm signed up to. I wouldn't call them inspirational or motivational, but they definitely pique my interest. And it's short blips, like 7 to 9 sentences. That's it. And I almost get them daily, if not every other day. And I was like, I think similar thoughts, and these people are posting about it. I'm like, well, I might as well take what I have, expand upon it, and do something similar. Not that I thought that I was going to make anything of it, but I'm like, if somebody else is doing it, then I'm gonna put my 2 cents out there essentially. And that's kind of what I did. And I built the website, 6 months maybe before I even put my first thing out there because I was scared and I didn't know what the heck I was doing. But I would have Google Doc sheets full, like, 20, 30 pages full. And I divvy them up. Uh, but then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna post it. And the same thing I did with Instagram. I was never social, or I was never on social media during my high school age. And then I was like, well, screw it. Like, I think I do. I'm just gonna do it for me. And if other people like it, they like it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great way to look at it because, ultimately, if you're doing things for other people, I feel like it's gonna the outcome and the what you like post are gonna constantly change and the motivation isn't gonna be there. Like if someone, you know, doesn't like it, then it could affect you emotionally and just you you're gonna want to take it down
Right.
and stuff like that. And I feel like at that point, if you really want to do something for you, you just gotta throw it out there. So
Hmm.
I think that that's a great mindset to have with it. And I was gonna ask you, like, I know this is a question I have because I want to ask it, but it's kind of a two-part question.
Okay.
It's what do you like love so much about the writing process and the process? Oh my goodness. What do you love about writing and the writing process? And do you have advice for those that have trouble expressing their thoughts?
Ooh.
I feel like for me, I'm not the best at articulating myself,
Hmm.
and I need to like kind of gather everything and go over it a couple times and then be like, okay, now I'm ready to share.
Yeah. No, yeah. I totally get that. Um, Whatever I publish is not the first rendition.
Mhm.
It's third, fourth, maybe even fifth. But to go back and answer the first question or first part of the question, the writing process, especially when I'm doing these long format sort of articles, it allows me to really get into the back of my mind, and it's almost blissful, and I'm in a zen kind of state where I can just go and I don't really think of it. It's like, see, you and other athletes would understand this. It's being in the flow state. If I asked you what you were thinking about when you were in the flow state, you would say nothing or, you know, really nothing. not anything.
Mhm.
And writing, just like playing sports for me, it's being in that flow state and I can just go. And I have my mind set on one thing and this is what I'm going to do. And it's kind of crazy what you can accomplish when you're in that mind uh, space, essentially. And if you can get there, it's great. There's a couple books that I've read that have really helped me get there. There's Deep Work by Cal Newport, I think. It's a little bit harder of a read, but
I've
it's a
heard of
great one. Um, the language is a little rough, but if you can get past that and you can comprehend everything, then I think the lessons you take from that book are immeasurable. There's just you will be able to get where you want to go exponentially. Um, and then I think for, you know, getting like trying to get advice to get into it, I think you really got to find what your gift is. And, it might not be writing for everybody. It could be playing basketball. It could be, swimming or reading or crocheting or something. Like everybody's got their different gift essentially. And I'm not saying that writing is mine. I love writing, don't get me wrong. Um, but I'm not the greatest at it. I haven't been doing it that long. But I think I've to be able to find something that you can just enjoy, it's awesome because it takes your mind away from everything else. And again, it doesn't have to be writing. It can be like for you, for example, it's like your escape is playing basketball, or it's swimming, or it's exercising, or it's making a podcast with two people. Like it can be anything you want as long as you like doing what you're doing. It's not, you know, if you like what you're doing, it goes back to the age-old saying. If you love what you're working on, then it's never going to be a job. I like writing. I don't find it's just a hobby for me. Or like, I like going to the gym. It's just a hobby. I do it every day, but it's just a hobby. And I think if you can find that one thing that you enjoy doing and be consistent at it, you're just exponentially bound to get better at that thing, no matter what it is.
Yeah. I like that you talked about the flow state because for me, it's something that I definitely worked at for a long time, like dating back to high school. I feel like for me now, what the flow state is to me is I find that the less thinking that I do and the more like actual action that I take, I find it much easier to kind of get into the flow state because
Mhm.
I feel like all the flow state is just being present at the end of the day, being
Yep.
present, being where your feet are. Like I don't know how many times I would tell you in like high school before a game, like my mind would be in other places and it would be hard to focus because my mind wasn't present and I would play bad because I wasn't, my mind probably wasn't strong enough to handle the moment or it was just in another place. And
Hmm.
I feel like for me, over time, I feel like meditation has helped me with that. It's helped me stay present. I've been practicing for a long time, but also just being able to read about it. There's a book called The Inner Game of Tennis that talks about it. And it's like it's about tennis, but it applies to pretty much any sport or any situation really of like how to separate self one from self two. And self one is your physical self, and self two is pretty much like your mental self. And I like that book. Um, but yeah, I just feel like for me, being present is like something that I've started to get better at. And
Hmm.
I definitely think like with basketball, it's taught me to how to actually reach that state. And I think I'm starting to reach that state with other things because when I first started doing podcasts, I still wasn't completely quite present. Like sometimes I don't know if you notice, like I'll be ready to ask the next question and don't really respond to the whole thing they just said. But no, I mean it's just practice.
Yeah, that's all it is. Repetition, repetition, repetition.
Yeah. Do you think you can also touch on just like so well, you already did touch on it. It was like I was asking you for advice on how to um fully express a thought. And
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I did hear you say like most of your writing is the like fifth rendition of what you originally put down.
Yeah.
And I do think it's important to have multiple kind of trials at one thing before you actually like post about it. But I guess like what I'm also asking is how do you like gather your thoughts and put them into like a fluid like writing or like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, okay. So I think it's different for everybody, but my job allows me to work by myself for the majority of the day. So I have a lot of time to sit with myself,
Hmm.
which I think that's really, I mean, it could be healthy or unhealthy, but uh, thinking to yourself all day, you can kind of encapsulate your thoughts and uh, back to my sticky notes or even like my little pocketbook. It's just short little sentences that I use. And then I go and I take those sentences almost like a prompt and I'll expand upon that. And I like to challenge myself. And I write on my computer. I don't usually write on pen and paper when I'm doing long format stuff. So I like to challenge myself and I'll, the first go around, I'll just write. I'll just, I'll just write. And then whenever I think, okay, my thoughts are kind of gathered in whatever I want to write about on that specific topic, I'll go back and I'll revise it. And through that process, I'll find words that I think either I use too much or I don't think are, great words. And I'll just grab a thesaurus and I'll look up what is a synonym or an antonym for this word or this word. And then you kind of go back and you reread it and like, okay, does it make sense like this? Even though it's the same meaning, does it make sense like this now? And sometimes that forces you to change your thoughts and make another draft of that specific thing. And there's some blog posts or articles, whatever you want to call them, that I've written that I haven't published because I wrote 3 or 4 versions of them and I just don't like them. And I don't think they're worth publishing. But if I just had to if someone started out and I wanted them to progress in their writing abilities, I'd just have them sit down on a computer, on a notebook, pencil and pen, or whatever you have that you can write with. And I just tell them, go, just go for 5 minutes. Just write whatever's on your mind. And then after that 5 minutes is up, I want you to read it to yourself out loud. Read it out loud. I think reading it in your head, you can comprehend what you just wrote. But if you read it out loud, it allows yourself to slow down, and you understand at the same rate that you're talking. And then it really gives your brain a minute to comprehend what you just wrote. And then go back and then spend another 3 minutes on what you just wrote and either write it again or make edits to it and make it better. Make it 20% better. Not even that much. And then if you still don't like it or you think it's good, maybe you're done after that. Or maybe you're like, okay, I'm gonna give myself another 3 minutes. How can I make this better in another 3 minutes? Or what if I just gave myself 10 more minutes? Like what it's always, I got this project, but there's a deadline. How much better could you have made that project if you had another hour or another whatever? day to work on that specific project. Most likely it could probably be better than what it initially was. So, to anybody who wants to better their writing ability or be better with articulating their words, either if it comes to writing, read it to yourself. If it comes to articulating your words, you know, like Nathan, make a YouTube channel, force yourself to record these videos and then go back and watch them. And then you can see the way you talk, see the way your body language is, how you speak, how you present yourself. And then since you're looking at yourself from an outside view, you can really judge yourself essentially. And you're like, okay, well, same thing in your writing ability. If you wanted to do it for speaking, for example, you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna edit my, how I speak, or I'm gonna use less filler words or use whatever it is. It's just trying to make those 1% improvements every single time in your writing and your speaking and your if you're going to the gym. This applies to everything. It's just constantly critiquing yourself. And I think, that's what I would recommend as advice. It's just be aware of what you're doing and constantly try to aim higher.
Do you think the writing that you do ever gets to a point where there's no more improvements left to make, or do you ever struggle with trying to make something too perfect to where, I don't know.
No, I understand. Uh, I think if I'm writing it for my website, it's a little bit different
Mhm.
because I have people that read it, and the way that I write it, uh, I like to use harsher vocabulary in the sense of it's a little bit harder to read or to digest, essentially. So, but to make it perfect, it's hard because I know that somebody's reading it. And if I there's some things, almost all of what I've published and what I will publish, I could go on for another, you know, 10 pages or whatnot. But I go back and I reread what I wrote out loud to myself and I time myself. And I'm a slow reader at that already. So it usually takes me from anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, depending on the length, um, to read what I just wrote. And for me personally, I think of myself as if you were reading my article. And I don't want you to get bored of reading my article.
My roommate, roommate on the podcast. Oh, podcast? So it's up to the podcast.
Sir,
Hey, what up, bro?
the
What up, bro? No, but you can go ahead. Sorry.
um, but I interpret myself as the reader. And I don't want the reader to get bored, or I don't want the reader to be like, oh my God, this keeps going on and on and on. So
Yeah.
I'm not worried about being perfect because I know that I can't fully get my point across. But I try to be as concise and quick to the point as I can while still trying to get as much information over as I can. So that's what I do personally. But if you're like an everyday, you just go for it. Just go as long as you want. You're not you're not worried about anybody reading it. But if somebody outside is looking in, you have to be aware of the people. Like you can't lose interest. You can't go on forever because your attention span is not, some people can't sit there and read for 25 minutes, an hour, whatever. Like as much as I would want to,
Yeah.
some people don't have time or they would just like, I'm done. I've read too much. I'm good.
Yeah. And that's still something I'm working on, trying to learn like where the interest is. Because ultimately, I make YouTube videos for fun, but
Hmm.
I also want to learn how to make a good YouTube video. I mean, it gives me a whole nother challenge. And I think it's funny, like the day I posted a YouTube video that was like 5 minutes long, it ended up being like my best video.
Yeah,
It
I
was
saw
just
that.
it was just simple and to the point. And I think that comes with trying new things, trying different things. But no, I really do think half the battle is just going for it and then adjusting as you go and seeing what works. And
Yeah.
I like the way that you put that.
Yeah. I had a similar experience. I've started posting TikTok and Instagrams reels just for whatever. But it's the same thing. Like I've posted one and then it did about as what I expected. But then I posted another one and I made it a little bit better. And it's still not perfect because I go back and watch it. I'm like, oh, I could have done that better. I could have done that, or I could have edited that out or whatever. I'm like, this one did 10x what the previous one did. I'm like, oh my God. I didn't even do that much, but it's like just this little bit more effort, or not even effort, but the little bit of improvement that I've done because I learned from the last one.
You were
I'm
aware?
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, oh, this is it. It grabbed more people's attention essentially. Like,
Yeah.
oh, this is cool. I'm learning.
Yeah. I think also like another thing I've been able to kind of do better was stop listening to like my subjective thoughts and just being aware of like what was actually happening. Because all my like thoughts about what I could do better were all just perceived. And instead of looking at my actual situation, being aware of like what's actually going on and trying to stay present through whatever so I can make an improvement has helped me a lot. And yeah,
No, I agree because being in the present is way better than being stuck in the past, which I think is what I had an issue with is I was stuck in my own past and I didn't know how to get out. So I'd always think like, oh, I could have done that better, or I should have done that. Or like it's almost like having regrets on yourself. You're like, ah, if I did that, then this would have been better. I'm like, as long as you're in the present moment and you don't have those fleeting feelings, then you don't have no worry and you can just keep moving forward.
exactly. One may say stoicism. Okay. So I know you also touched on like not being in college and like moving into the real world. And I
Mhm.
wanted to ask you like how do you feel about like having the right environment and like surrounding yourself with the best possible like people, community, or like competition in a sense like that?
So it's a little bit harder even just to find community in a sense, good or bad.
Mhm.
And um, that's where people talk about having a third space. So like your home, your work, or like for you, it's your college or your dorm or something. And then where else are you going to hang out? That could be anywhere. Like for me, that's the gym. And that's where I've connected with a lot of people. Just because I'm around them all the time. I see them all the time. Some are good, some are bad. But, navigating those relationships and oh, here's a good example. Um, I met one of my really good buddies now. He's about the same age as me, and he didn't go to college either. And it's like having that teammate on your basketball team that's identical to you. You guys love to compete with each other, or like your best mate or something. You guys love to compete, and it's a healthy rivalry, and it's good for both parties. And, as soon as somebody else tries to come in and disturb that, you guys both kind of be like, nah, we're together. Like, we're in this together. Even though we're competing against each other and we're going at each other's throats, we're doing it to better each other. And I think it's awesome to have those healthy relationships. And if, you know, everybody can try to find that one person or two or that group of people that can constantly challenge themselves in whatever they're doing, it's just awesome to have and to see because it just makes everybody better in the end. But then, if you're in the real world and you're having trouble finding those relationships, then you're gonna have to get out of your comfort zone. There's no other way. You have to go up. You have to go say hi to somebody, even if it's just, hi, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Nolan, for example, and then give them a compliment or something. Like that's the start of a relationship right there. And that could lead to nothing, that could lead to everything.
Mhm.
But I think if you don't even make the effort, then you don't see any of the rewards. And those rewards could be nothing, like quite literally, you don't get anything out of it. Or, this person could be your best friend for the rest of your life. You have no idea if you don't say hi. I think you just have to go out of your comfort zone and do the things that you don't want to do in order to get what you do want to get.
That's good. Yeah. I feel like for me, like my environment kind of comes from my family, my friends that I have now that I did put an effort to try and get. Those are relationships that I put an effort into building. And obviously like where I'm at now. But yeah, I think seeking what you want is so important because you could be, if you don't have an intention to like understand where you're going, like the world is gonna put you in its own environment and it might not be one that you want to be in.
Hmm.
Like we're kind of forced to go to school growing up. The environment can be good or bad.
Right.
I feel like I feel like also like it's about what you do with that environment. And there's so many different experiences to be had. Like ultimately, I feel like the environment can only shape you as much as you allow it to, and kind of your own internal um, spirit can reflect outwards and help you become who you need to be. And I feel like, yeah, there's a lot of different ways to go about trying to get what you want and create your own environment. But ultimately, it comes from you and what you can bring to the table to get what you want,
I think,
I
yeah,
think.
I think you're right. And I like what you said because you can, like, your environment is different than my environment, but what you bring to the table and what you add, uh, is a reflection of yourself.
Mhm.
So it's like, you could go to whatever, you could go to California, for example, or Europe and start fresh. But if you bring your true self, then you're always going to have that with you and you can always project that onto another person and then they're now part of your environment and you bring your emotions and your feelings and your energy to them. And now that even though you're in a new environment, you're still bringing your true self to this new place. So it's like you're never leaving you. As long as you have you and you know who you are, you're never going to feel uh, like an outcast, essentially.
Yeah, I feel like if you have yourself, you have someone.
Yep.
And that kind of leads me into some of the blog posts that I really enjoyed and some of the blog posts that I feel like I truly related to. And the first one I want to talk about is kind of piggybacking off of what we just talked about, and that's the solitary journey,
Hmm.
that post that you posted. How do you feel like being on your own forces you to look internally and helps craft you into who you need to be?
Ooh. So this is another lesson that I had to learn very quick because I mean, just like all of us, we're forced into these different environments. And, you lose all the relationships, whether that's on your own accord or somebody else or whatever. The relationships just aren't the same as they used to be because everybody gets so distant of each other. And, navigating this new external world that you're involved with, you feel very lonesome and you have to get over that in the sense of like, okay, I'm by myself. How can I, you know, be able to live with myself? Because before it was, oh, this is me. This is my group. I have, my 5 or 6, 7 friends that I'm around all the time. So I never had to worry about thinking about me. But as soon as you're off on your own, you're like, okay, all I have is me. And since all I have is me, I'm forced to think and to deal with my own thoughts and to really figure out who I am. And it puts you on this solitary journey. And, you know, you have to, once you're able to control your thoughts and your feelings and emotions and figure out who you really are, then, you can become at peace with yourself and, really enjoy being comfortable with yourself. And then same thing to what we were just talking about. It's like when you know who you are, then you have no problem going out into the world and figuring out or making relationships with everybody else because you're so comfortable with yourself that nothing really can affect you.
Do you think like do you think even if you're not necessarily comfortable with yourself, people should take action on like what they want anyways and like be do you think like not having a lot of self-confidence is almost part of that like self journey or that solitary journey to where the journey kind of encompasses developing confidence in yourself?
Yeah, I think so because I mean, there's kind of like two sides of the spectrum. And, on this side, you have your low self-esteem, low confidence, low everything. And some people are stuck here for a really long time. And I was here for sure, straight out of high school, everybody left, especially after summer. Um, but you have to ask yourself, why am I here? Why am I at this point in my life? And then you kind of got to look at yourself in the mirror like, okay, this is where I'm at. This is where I want to be. I know it's not going to be very linear to get to this, and I know it's going to be hard, but if I know I'm here, what steps can I take to improve to at least get maybe here by like 2 months from now, or a year from now or something. Like if I'm not okay here and this is where I want to be, will I be okay with myself here? And then I can start trying. Like if I can get comfortable with myself at this position, this is your new baseline. And then
Mhm.
you're this much closer to this, right? And then it's slowly your your baseline self-esteem and self-confidence slowly grows and it's your new normal. And then if you look back, you're like, oh my God, I started here where since I restarted my environment, I didn't have any friends, I didn't have any family, my relationships were gone. But now I'm here and it's like, oh, I have relationships. I have a new family, maybe not blood related, but like I have a people that love me, take care of me, and I reciprocate and do the same for them. I'm like, this is, and having that confidence to go and be that person that you want to be, you have to be there for yourself. You have to show up for yourself. But all of that starts with why am I at this position? And how can I change me so I can love me or be okay with myself here and then here and here and it keeps going until you get to wherever you want to be. And you and me and whoever's listening, like we're not our finished products. We're nowhere close to that. But you can always keep trying to get a little bit better. You have to keep challenging yourself and keep going out of your way to be like, this is what I want to get to. These are my goals. And if you're stagnant or if you don't have any, aspirations or anything, then or if you just don't know what you're really doing, you got to look internally. You got to sit with yourself. Well, what do I want? How do I want to continue and can I get here while being here? Most of the time, the answer is no. So it's like to get from here to here, what do I have to do? And how easy can I make that path? And sometimes it's just, you know, going outside and laying in the sun. I don't know. It's just thinking to yourself and figuring it out and answering your own questions. And everybody knows the answer, but you just have to look inside yourself and find it.
That's interesting. How do like I feel like along any journey, I feel like there's bound to be like mess ups or small, issues that seem like the end of the world. And how do you kind of find stability within yourself to kind of like ground yourself when things seem to go wrong or like they seem to go bad or you feel like you're not making the progress you want to? How do you like kind of like stay grounded within yourself when those challenges come?
So when I have these like end of the world days, I want to quit. I want to quit everything. I want to, stop writing, stop working, stop doing all this stuff. You really, what I found for me that works for me is I just, you know, you have to walk away. You got to walk away, take a deep breath. And, sometimes you get these challenges and you just you need to go home or you need to sleep or do something like, and you just deal with it in the morning or deal with it the next day. And then sometimes you come back the next day and you realize, oh, this wasn't even that big of a deal. Or, oh my God, like this is practically what I wanted. I just was overthinking. And a lot of time, that's my issue is you sit on something for so long that's constantly challenging you, and then you start overthinking it. And it makes it that much worse. The problem seems that much worse. And if you walk away from it and you come back to it a couple hours later or the next day or even the next week, depending on what it is, usually it's not as bad as it seems. But like if I get into a rut where I don't want to do anything, I have 3 sheets of paper with my goals on them, all written down. There's 10 goals, and each of these goals have, subcategories on them. I see those goals and I don't read them every day, but I'm pretty consistent. I'm like, oh, I'll pick them up and I'll remind myself of what I'm looking forward to or what I can hope to expect if I achieve so and so in the future. I'm like, those things that are on that list are things that I really want to have. Like they're my aspirations and that's what I work for. And I have to like constantly remind myself, this is what I'm doing. This is, even though it's challenging now, if I do it, then this will be my reward. And that reward outweighs the challenge tenfold. So it's just that constant reminder of like, what am I doing this for and how will it help me in the future? Or, it sucks now. It's like that delayed gratification thing. If I just put my nose down on the grindstone now, whatever, a year, 2, 10 years from now, it'll come back to me. And this is what I'm working for. And I know this is what I'm doing. And I know this, it might not work and it might not get there. And I might have to take 50 left turns to get there. but in the end, I'm gonna get to the destination. So it's just a constant reminder. And then if it doesn't work, sometimes you have to walk away.
Yeah. Yeah, I've definitely had a lot of times where I feel like something was, oh my goodness, I'm about to run out of time again. We still have 10 minutes. But
Okay.
I've definitely had a lot of experiences where I felt like something was going to be the end of the world and I felt like I wasn't going to be able to get through it. But I think for me, it's like we did touch on kind of being like aware of yourself. And I feel like the more I just am aware of my overall situation and I kind of take the thinking out of it with like all my emotions that are tied into these thoughts and, walk away from something, come back to it later. I feel like I always come at it with a better perspective than I would have if I would have tried to handle it in the moment.
Hmm.
And I think overthinking and just thinking on one thought for too long, yes, it does seem to make the problems much bigger. And I feel like coming at it from another, amount of time or perspective is so much healthier anyway.
Yeah.
You're doing what you need to do for you to stay present as well and to deal with it, you know, in the moment isn't always like the best possible idea. But no, I like that you have like I like that you have like sub categories on your goals too.
Yeah. It's like one broad thing. Like like one of my top goals is to grow my social image, which is kind of what I've been trying to do. But like below that, it's got four little goals. And it's like I want to get to this amount of followers by this date. If it
Yeah.
doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, but whatever. And then I'm like, I want to build my community, which is something that I've done. And it's only continuing to grow, but it's awesome to see that. And it's not like a checklist, but it's something nice to look at. You're like, oh, this is what I'm working on.
I'm sure like you saw my what are those things called?
Whiteboard?
Yeah, my whiteboard that fell down. That kind of like has a lot of my goals. Um, my goals initially started in this little journal, but that whiteboard kind of just helps me to see it constantly. Like
Yeah,
I'm,
it's always in your face.
yeah, like I'll wake up, like I don't check it, but like I'll, before I go to sleep, it's like it's right above there. So it's like, oh, like, look at it a little bit.
Hmm.
And yeah, I feel like that's helped me to, but yeah, that's like interesting how you write little sub goals. Like I think I do that, like, but most of my goals are just like big, like specific things.
Yeah,
But like I'll have smaller ones too. Like I want to get 100 subscribers. And I'm like,
there you go.
I'm like 43% of the way there or something like that. So once I do that, then it's like, oh, I want to get 500, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah. But and then when you accomplish those goals, it like I literally just accomplished one of these goals in my journal like a couple of days ago that I'm not going to talk about on the podcast. But it was so unexpected and it's like once it actually happens, it's just a crazy feeling.
Yeah.
But yeah, because like I wrote it probably in like June. And I was like,
Okay.
oh, I know this is gonna happen. Like I as long as I just keep working towards it, I know it's gonna happen. And it happened. And I was like, bro, like I've been visualizing this is the craziest thing ever.
Hmm.
But yes, I also did want to talk about another blog post, which I also related to heavily. And it's called Find Your Older Brother, a guide to accelerated growth and development. Nolan, how have mentors or older brothers played a role in your life?
So for me, I am the oldest brother, and there is no one above me. Like I had a father figure growing up, and it was good, but it's not the older brother. A father figure is very different than an older brother. And making these new relationships that I've found somebody who is an older brother or like a mentor towards me, and he's got 8 years on me, and I talk to him every day. There's hardly any days that we don't converse back and forth. And he has helped me in almost every endeavor of my life. And he's shown me the path to take, maybe not all the correct paths. He's like, I've done this, don't do that. That's what having an older brother is for. Or that's what having a mentor or somebody that you can look up to that's lived the life already and can tell you, hey, you should do this, or hey, I don't advise doing that because it'll lead to X, Y, and Z. And um, like for me, I don't party, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do any of that stuff. And he's at the age of his in his life where he's past all that. And so he's like, okay, you're not focused on that. Don't even pay any attention to it. You should, since you have your youth and you're not focused on doing that stuff, you have all this extra allotted time that a normal 20, 19, 20, 21-year-old wouldn't have. So he's like, why don't you put your energy and focus into writing? Or, I've told him about your podcast and I've told him like, you know, hey, this guy's making videos and, we had, not a great relationship and we weren't close at all, but like we had a relationship in high school and like he's inspired me, maybe not to make a podcast, but like, okay, I write, maybe I could just do a voiceover or something, do this something similar and have another platform to get it off of and
When I was looking at
have
the website, I saw you had a YouTube channel, but there were no videos. So I was
no, yeah. I'm
like,
like, I have a link for it, but I don't have anything up there yet. And having that older brother or that mentor that you can go to with full confidence. Like sometimes they're gonna laugh at you. That's just how it is. Let's have like having an older brother or like having a close friend. Like sometimes they're gonna laugh at you, but they're gonna criticize you and they're gonna lead you the right way. And I think that's what's really important is finding that person for you that, can help lead you in the right direction. And all that like me being an older brother, all that I want my younger brother to do is learn from my experiences, repeat some of the things that I did, don't repeat some of the things that I did, learn from me and outgrow me. And I think this should be what every mentor or older brother should kind of look for is like, hey, I'm going to take this kid under my wing, whether it's intentional or not. I'm like, I'm going to take this person under my wing. I'm going to teach them not everything I know, maybe everything I know. And, I'm just like, that's how it was for me. Like, that's how I see him. I see him as a coach, an older brother, um, you know, just a mentor in general. Like, he's got his own family, he's got kids. And so it's like, it's cool to see how he operates within his whole family dynamic. I'm like, oh, when I get my family, whenever that is, it's like, okay, then I can do this, this, and this, and I can do this, this, and this. And like having that person there to kind of guide you through life, it's a very heartwarming experience because like every time you get to talk to that person, you're like, oh, okay, I got it now. And I think that's like something everybody should experience. And I don't know, like maybe your older brother is like a junior or a senior on your basketball team, for example, somebody that you look up to. You're like, they're teaching you, or maybe they're staying after practice and they're shooting with you. Like it's not, oh, they're with you all day. It's like, hey, we're gonna get some dribble drills in, we're gonna shoot some threes before we leave or something. It's like this is that the little time that they take to help improve you because they want to, not that they expect anything back, but just because they want to see you succeed. Like that's an awesome feeling. And trying to find that person, that should be a goal for everybody. It's like try to get a person that can help you. Don't take advantage of it, but get everything you can out of it because that person wants to see you succeed and you want to see them succeed.
I think that blog specifically relates to me because I don't know if you watched my previous podcast with his name's Jordan Swapshire. I don't know.
Mm-mm.
Um, he's been a mentor role model for me for a long time. He's a professional basketball player,
Okay.
but we're also like, we don't relate to just basketball. Like, he's taught me so much about the mental side of really just life too. Like, he's had a lot of time away from America too. Like, he's lived in Romania, Georgia, like he's lived in Las Vegas, different parts of
Mm.
it, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's given me a lot of perspective of like what life could look like when you go down certain routes and take different avenues. And I really appreciate him because when I was in high school, I probably asked him too many questions when he could have been out doing whatever. But um
Yeah.
I met him when he was a senior in college or like a junior going to be a senior in college. And I was like in seventh grade. And I really just appreciate him because I feel like he offered me so much help with whether I would ask him like what workouts should I be doing. And because of that, like I feel like I was getting advanced training for like my age, whatever. And I remember like spending summers with him working out, like he would train me like I got so much better than if I were to have just done it by myself and kind of like seeking those role models or I don't know, I feel like God just blessed me with him in my life, but because I wasn't actively seeking anyone, I was just a seventh grader playing basketball and I met him at the gym. And it's like when you meet like-minded people, but they're just ahead of you and older and can give you advice, I think it's the most beautiful thing ever because you can pick what you want, if you don't want to be like them in certain ways, you don't have to, but if you, learn and pick up like the good parts of them, like it's just really an advantage to have older mentors like that.
Yeah. It's it's awesome too because you're able to see yourself, maybe you were going like that, but then you meet this person and now you're like, oh, like very your growth curve is
Yeah, they offer you different perspectives on things too. So yeah,
yeah,
sorry
it's awesome.
to cut you off.
Yeah. Nah, you're good.
But also like along with kind of like finding that older brother. Okay, but like how would you encourage someone that doesn't have a role model in their life and they like want to find a specific person that they can strive to be like?
So, I mean, we had similar experiences. We weren't looking for anybody, and then this person kind of just showed up.
Hmm.
And I think most of the time that's kind of how it is. You kind of have to not look and then it'll come. But if you really don't have anybody, I think you should try and look online or read books about people that you think are interesting or that you would like to, hey, they live this kind of life or they've succeeded in this area, whether that's academia, sports, business, whatever. I want to go be like them. And then, you know, you read about them, you listen to them, and you look up to them. So like that's like having Mike Tyson as a role model. You're like, oh, this guy was awesome, and I want to be just like him. Like Mike Tyson doesn't know you. You know Mike Tyson, and you can take the lessons that he offers, but you know, you might not ever get to talk to him face to face and have that one-on-one conversation. But you can still receive the lessons that he's giving, whether that's through audio visual, whatever, what have it, you can take in the lessons and teach yourself through that platform. And I think and then once you get those lessons, then maybe that person will show up. And throughout time, just as your life progresses, you're going to meet new people. Some will stay, some will go, but these people will just show up or you're going to show up for them and they're going to become your new mentor. And I think that's wild how that's how the world works sometimes. So like I would try to actively seek one out, whether if you're on a sports team, go to the older group, or even if it's somebody on your team right now that just might know more than you. If you're on like the academia side, go to a professor or a TI or like somebody that can help you out and go sit with them, go get tutoring lessons or something. And then if it's like business related, you can always get a mentor. There's mentors for everything. Whether you have to pay for that or not, that's a little bit different, but there you can find somebody that'll help you out in everything. Some people will stick with you and some people won't. It's just that's how it is sometimes.
Yeah, I feel like definitely like whenever you I've never had to actively seek someone, but I have when I was younger and like even now, like I will like, you know, all my feed on social media or like YouTube is stuff that I want to like feed my brain and
Yep.
like what I want to take in. Like I feel like what you listen to, what you watch like controls so much of like your subconscious mind. And it's like if you feed yourself with positive energy, positive things, and like kind of a lot, and you keep visualizing like lives of people that you want to be like, I feel like ultimately you're gonna live that out and you're gonna surround yourself with the same energy to be like that. And I feel like if it's not even a mentor, like just start surrounding yourself with the positivity you want to see in your life, you know, the the processes of people that you want to be like, whether it's watching YouTube videos or seeing something or just following them on social media. Start surrounding yourself with like what you want to do, what you want to be, and focus on that. And I feel like the people will start to come naturally, no matter
Yeah,
what.
yeah, because if you take that energy in, then you're almost going to have a gravitational field
Hmm.
and people are going to come to you. And I think that's how it all starts is you have to first harness whatever energy that is, and then it'll automatically be outputted, and then everybody will come to you.
Nice. All right, I have a couple more questions for you.
Okay.
This is a pretty long. I didn't know how many questions to put because I haven't really like talked to you in a while. So I didn't like you give like really good, long, deep responses. And I like that.
Mhm.
So I wasn't sure how many questions to ask or how many I was going to need to ask. But that's why it's long. But what do you think your definition of like success is? And is it like a subjective thing that changes, or is it like reaching a goal that you have?
In the past, it was definitely if I get X or if I get this one thing or multiple things, then I'll be happy. Then I'll be successful.
Hmm.
Or like, you always hear the term keeping up with the Joneses. It's like I want the all the bells and whistles. I want the new car, the nice house, and the for me the nice wife and a couple of nice kids. Like that was ideal success. And then it changed into, oh wow, I want to live this expensive, lavish life, and that will be success to me. But like as I'm getting older, especially that I interact with older people a lot. It's like success currently for me is I want a healthy body. I want enough money to not have to worry about it. I want to be able to have the ability to be spontaneous. Like if I wanted to go fly to Paris tomorrow, I could. If I and like I want to have that's what success is to me. Be physically, mentally, spiritually fit and healthy and have the ability to be spontaneous. And I think my definition of success is still will change in the future, like it's changed in the past. And I think that's okay. But the one thing that I have realized is even though my definition of success has changed, it's the general idea of it has been the same. It's always been stay decently healthy, have be able to have nice quality stuff. Not a lot of it because I don't think I need it all, but be able to have what I want when I want it. And, you know, I always have like time, location, and financial freedom, right? Like those are the three big goals. And once you have that, like that's success because then nobody can take that away from you. Like as long as if you have freedom and you're fit, what else do you need?
Yeah. I think like the way I kind of see success for me personally is like as a Christian, like I know this isn't going to relate to everyone, but as a Christian, I feel like my responsibility is to honor God in whatever I do, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So I really just want to live as righteously as possible. And I feel like that's kind of where I struggle with like small, I guess, like problems or small little like things that I think are going to be the end of the world is because I want to live righteously and I want to honor God. But ultimately, like I know God loves me and I know like as long as I stay faithful and true to him and like ultimately try to honor him in everything I do, like I know like I'm going to be on the right path. And that's just like the way that I've seen success now because I found that whenever I kind of take um an idol or like ground myself in something of the world, I feel like it seems to not really last me. And that's just like my own perspective on things. And I'm still learning, like I'm still trying to be the best version of myself and honor God in the every way I can. But I think like for me, that's kind of like how success has changed for me. It's not really about myself, but it's about doing things that help me make sure that I'm honoring God because I know everything that I have in my life is like a blessing and it could be taken away at any moment. So I kind of think it helps me to be humble in my own self and just look at everything that I have in my life as like with a lot of gratefulness and as a blessing. And that's kind of like the way like I see myself being successful. Like I don't really need to get to a specific outcome. Obviously, I want to be healthy. I want to be like I want to have a family, whatever, but ultimately I want to honor God. And that's like the way success has been defined for me because like I found myself wanting to be, oh, like let me make it to the NBA. And like I'm I'm probably not gonna make it to the NBA. So it's like I've been able to find, you know, success in God, and that's like something that I wanted to touch on. But yeah, I mean, like I think for everyone, like it's important to like really understand and appreciate everyone's own sense of self. And I think that's really great for you to like say like your success for you has been changing. Like a lot of people would want one one outcome and then just immediately like stop working for it just because it didn't go the way they thought it would go.
Right.
Like us as humans have the ability to adapt and continue to, work through anything really. So I feel like I really like your response. I really like your thought process on that. And I definitely agree with you. And like,
Yeah. I mean, to your point, I like how I'm not, I don't practice religion,
mhm,
but I do believe in a higher power. And I think that, that first step is kind of surrendering yourself to whoever that may be and be grateful for the things that you have and the things that come into your life and leave your life. And, relating that back to success is like you have to you have to be grateful for what you have. So when you get the things that you want to receive, it'll be just like that more like what's the word I'm looking for? More important to you, essentially.
yeah, that's good.
Okay.
So the last couple questions I want to close out with is what advice would you give to like your younger self or just anyone?
Um, I'd say try it all. Try it all. Give it 100%. And even when you think you're done, you probably have about 40% more. And you should keep pushing and be persistent. And if you pick an avenue, be consistent with it. Because I think I always struggled with, oh, I want to do this, but I would never, I would do it for a week and then I'd have a challenge come up and then I'd give up and I would never touch it again. And I think if I could always work through those things, then maybe I would enjoy it more or I would still be doing it today. So I think try everything and don't give up.
That's good. And then the last question I have, if you want to share, is like, what are your current goals? Like, what are you working towards? I know you shared one of them. You don't have to share. It's up to you. You don't have to give me all of them.
No. Um, I mean, some of these goals are like niche things, and some of them are like one of them is working on my internal self and trying to learn how to meditate. I don't know how to meditate. I can't do it. I've tried. It's very hard for me.
That's
Um,
interesting though, because I feel like you saying like you sit with your thoughts a lot at work, that's almost like meditation.
I guess, but like to me, I guess I don't know. It's very like when I think meditating, I'm like, okay, thinking I'm gonna sit on my bedroom floor for 15 minutes with my eyes shut. But I just can't do it. I can't do it.
The thing that I like to do with it is I like to pop in a YouTube video and I'll just say like guided meditation uh for whatever you want. And like I'll do like in the morning, like I'll do like guided meditation for positivity, guided meditation for clarity, guided meditation for gratefulness. And I'm not saying you have to have like a specific intent when you're meditating because there's a bunch of different things you can do with it. You can just simply focus on breath work. You can focus on, what's around you, the sounds you hear. It's it's just about being present with oneself. So really, I mean, I would start with guided meditation. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I think it
I
helps.
mean, I'll try it because I don't know.
Yeah,
Like,
I hope you like it.
another one of my goals is very simple, but it's just the act of being consistent. Like on here, I have fixing my skin. Like I used to have really bad acne and I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. And so like now I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try and clear it up, try in different ways, make sure I'm on top of it because if I miss a day or 2 days or whatever, then I'm like, okay, then you're gonna start flaring back up. And you gotta be, it's getting into those routines. And it's like this one goal, if I can get this one goal, then it'll make me, going from here to here, it's going to make me that much more confident with myself, being able to sit with myself. And like, I can look in the mirror and like, okay, I like this version of me. And it's stuff like that that I have on my sheets, like very simple. Some stuff is very big, but other stuff is like that. It's like very niche, this is my own problem. No one else has this problem. I mean, people have that problem, but it's like, this is one that I'm currently dealing with. Um, another another one is just writing the articles on my own experience. Um, that's like the main heading, and I have long form, but keep the person interested. Come up with ideas that I relate to or have shared experience with, and then I have another dash mark is video of myself and post it on YouTube. And the thing that I've struggled even doing that is like I'll read it, but then I go back and I watch the video and you can see my eyes reading up and down and up and down. It's like public speaking to myself. It's very hard to do for me. It's like just sitting there being comfortable with myself and like it's kind of interesting because I have each of these goals written down, but they all kind of tag along within each other. It's like this goal allows me to work on myself here, but this one allows me to do this one here, and this relates to that. I'm like, oh, they're all working on different things, but they're all progressing the same like hierarchy essentially. And I'm like, you're slowly taking your steps up.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good way to think about it. Everything you do is ultimately to make yourself like a better version than you were yesterday.
Hmm.
And I think when you talked about like the act of making a YouTube video, like I I found it hard to be in front of a camera and just freestyle it sometimes because I think like my first video I ever made, like I did fine with it, but learning how to articulate what I want to say, it has been really hard for me. And like in my older, I feel like I'm gonna look back on it and be like, oh, in my older videos, I used to like read off a script, and now it's like I'm actually able to like fully say what I want to say with no kind of guidance. And that's not to say like I won't have a couple bullet points of what I want to talk about, but learning how to be in front of the camera is hard.
Yeah, yes, it
I'm
is.
not like naturally an extrovert or anything like that because it's you and there's no one there, but you know people are gonna watch it. So it's like you gotta you gotta lock in.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah,
But yeah,
yeah. It's
I
like
would say I would say if you make a video though, try and like I would say like don't feel like you need to make it long. That would be like my advice.
okay.
But it's up to you with how you want to make your channel.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I'm gonna do it because initially I was like, I'm gonna write my article and I'm gonna read it verbatim and see how long it is. It's like 5 to 10 minutes, but at the same time, I'm like, I might just cut some of it and like, and maybe make it two or three and just get it quick and just post it.
Yeah.
I'm not
Well,
sure yet.
anyways, would you like to shout out your stuff to my 30 viewers?
30 viewers. If you want to read the articles, it's nolanchambers.com. Uh, follow me on Instagram, Nolan underscore double underscore chambers.
Shout out
And
the
then,
YouTube channel. I'll link
yep,
all.
cool. And then, yeah, everything's linked to itself, so you can find everything from one side or the other. Yeah, it's great being on here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
I'm
of
sure
course.
we'll catch up in a couple months, do it again, maybe.
Oh yeah, hopefully.
See
Well,
where we've changed, what hasn't.
for sure. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. You heard it here first, ladies and gents. Um, I hope you learned from this and continue to grow and check out Nolan's stuff and watch my next video. Peace out.